off the G5 jet. I'm on my way to a brand new kit.
Welcome back, eSIMstudios podcast, live stream, YouTube channel. Hope everybody's having a good weekend so far. Today's Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday here in the United States. I know I have a lot of viewers outside of the US. Today's a big day. Actually, there's been a push for making Monday, the Monday after the Super Bowl, like a national holiday, because everybody gets drunk and watches the Super Bowl. Everybody's got a hangover, all right, on the following Monday. But I got a lot of work to do. I doubt I'll watch the game. Is my stream choppy? Can y'all hear me all right? It looks like it's a little choppy. Let me see here. Hang on one second. Can y'all hear me all right? Yeah, I got you. If the stream looks jacked up, just let me know. It looks a little choppy on my end. I got a new setup. I'm using my Z Flip 7 as a webcam, although I'm using it through, what is it? I'm connected to Phone Link on Windows, so I might have to switch. If it continues to look choppy, I'll probably take a timeout and switch my video input. But I wanted to talk about today. So right before, I think this morning, I guess it falls right in line with kind of the topic that I was going to talk about today. Do you really need to buy a flagship phone, right? We've kind of plateaued when it comes to performance on the high end, on the flagship end. And I think a lot of mid-range phones are perfectly fine for a lot of people, right? And I was going to go through some of the options that you have, right? So if you're not that impressed with the S26 series, with the S26 Ultra, basically a refresh, just going to kind of go through your options. We're going to look at a number. It's not going to be a long live stream, probably 30 minutes. Go through a number of different devices in the mid-range segment, right? And in that price range, right? And also, I need your input. What classifies as a mid-range and or a flagship device? Is it price? Is it processor? It's probably one of the two, if not both. Flagships typically around $1,000, right? Although you can get a S26, just the base model. It's considered a flagship phone, but what do they start at? $799, $800, I think, is what we're gonna, I guess, baseline flagship, 800 and up. And then what is mid-range? Probably 500 to 800 is mid-range, and then anything under 500 probably budget, right? There was a new, if you saw that the video Flossie Carter put out, what was it, yesterday or 2 days ago, on that new red Magic phone. I was going to pull that up. That's it looks like a really good option. I think it starts at $500. Let me pull up some of these phones and I'll share my screen. How's everybody doing today? Oh, I also have... Does anybody out there watching have a OnePlus 15? I found this case. I thought I gave all my cases away. I have this OnePlus 15 case. If there's anybody watching that has a OnePlus 15, let me know. If there's multiple people, I can do a giveaway. If it's just one person, I can send it to you. It's not a big deal. What's going on, everybody? You don't like One UI 8? Yeah, I have mine on One UI 8.5 beta. My S25 Ultra, I can't tell the difference. I mean, maybe there's one or two things I could point out, but it's not even worth making a video about. I know some people, that's all. There's some channels. What's that? Well, I was just watching a video earlier. It's App X, I think it is, the YouTube channel where he does a lot of Samsung stuff, and I don't know. It's not that big of a deal to me. Like, it looks like they're still kind of copying Apple, right? And I'm not in favor of that at all. So yeah, it's nice. It has a lot of options. There's a lot of customization. But it's interesting to see where OnePlus is headed, where Samsung is headed, and now with Motorola. Now that I'm using them. Oh, by the way, I got my case in. I'm gonna do a case review, although I'll probably do that later today or tomorrow. I got a busy afternoon, but check this out. So here's the signature, and here's the case that came with it. It's pretty basic for about, I don't know, $10. So I don't know what it was, about $10. It's about as basic as you can get, right? It's not going to be much of a case review, but there's not that many options on Amazon, right? There's just not. There's this, and I think another silicone case. And there's some girly stuff, right? I guess probably got some sparkly stuff on it, but just for a basic case, there's not many options. But at least I got something. Now I can transfer my SIM card. I think I'm going to do that later today. Transfer my SIM card in here and start using this with my SIM. Let's see. Red Magic is a gaming phone. Yes. With crap cameras. Yes. Apex. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about? Yeah, he had an update. He does a lot of One UI 8.5, One UI beta stuff that I watch, and I'm like, should I make a video about that? Like, I don't know. Nah, I'll pass. In dual SIM on the signature, you can set different ringtones for each SIM. Yes. Yeah, I saw that in the settings. You certainly can. You can set different ringtones and different notifications. So if you have a business SIM and a personal SIM, you could have a specific ringtone if you're somebody that calls in regards to your business, gives you a call, or if your wife calls you, right? Or even if you get a text message from a business partner, it'll have a specific ringtone or notification sound. Or if you get a text message from your daughter, you can have a specific ring. Yes, everything's customizable when it comes to the SIM cards. I saw that yesterday in the settings. Yep, definitely. Yeah, and I'm going to do a deep dive probably tomorrow or the next day as well, going through the camera settings, right? Because here's one thing, and I don't know why. So before I even bought the phone, of course, you look on YouTube for reviews for the signature or any phone, right? And it's all the same thing. That's why I'm not big on making just scripted videos about the specs, because there's a gazillion of them on YouTube, right? You've seen one video, you've basically seen them all they talk about are the specs. They rarely go in depth into the software, and sometimes I'm kind of picky when it comes to phones or how the software is, but especially the camera, right? What kind of options are there in the camera settings, right? Does it have portrait video mode? Does it, what are the different settings in the camera app? There's nothing out there. So I'm gonna do it today. I don't think I can get to it today. I'll probably do it tomorrow. Just go through the camera app, every setting, every option, because people want to know that. People like me that were interested in that. There's nothing on YouTube in regards to that. And I might do another customization video, just how you can customize. A lot of people out there have not used Motorola like myself in years, and they're interested, right? They need to know. As a Razr Ultra 2025 owner, I think the Moto UI is fairly clean. Not pixel clean, but close. It's close. That's why I think it's probably a good option for people that are getting tired of Pixel, or maybe they made the mistake of upgrading to the 10 series when they probably should have stayed with the 9, like myself. Of course, I didn't know it was going to be... they're not bad, but I got about 10 more charging cycles before we hit 200, and they cut everything in half, so charging in half. So people that are going to be upset looking to move to something else, I think Motorola is a good, or at least, the flagship Motorola's, the Razr Ultra, the Signature. It's a Pixel-esque operating system. What's going on? Appreciate you joining us today. So let's jump into some of these flagship options mid-range options. We all know what the flagships are, but maybe you're looking, you don't want to spend, look, everything's more expensive nowadays. Maybe you don't want to spend $1,000 on a phone. Maybe you just want to spend $500, right? Or even if you buy it on a credit card, instead of paying $60 a month for a flagship phone, you could pay $30 a month, right? stuff like that. Every dollar matters. And I think there's a lot of good options out there when it comes to mid-range phones. Now, before we jump into the different selections, something popped up on my radar that I want to get into, and there's news in regards to this. So check this out. Let me share my screen. It's kind of funny. It's kind of, I don't know where this is gonna go. Are y'all ready? So earlier this morning, I saw this article. The Trump phone. Dun dun dun. The Trump phone. Now, here's the thing. Sorry, here's the thing with the Trump phone. When it first came out, about a year ago, do y'all remember they were putting out the Trump Mobile, where you can sign up for service, and the Trump phone. Now, the Trump phone was kind of like an iPhone knockoff, right? The back had those three camera sensors that looked just like a iPhone 15 Pro Max, right? But it had the circle punch for the front-facing selfie camera. Well, guess what? They have not shipped those. So they took pre-orders, $100 a pre-order, and people are like twiddling their fingers like, when are they going to ship the phone? They still have not shipped the phones. But this article on The Verge, I didn't order one, and I'm not going to order one, but an interesting twist of turn of events, now they're shipping out this completely new phone. So people that pre-ordered thinking they were going to get this iPhone copycat are now going to get this. And it has different internals. So you basically, this phone right here is their flagship phone. This is going to be $1,000, and you're essentially getting mid-range specs. Because now we know what processor it's going to have. We know how much storage it's going to have. We know kind of what the cameras are going to be like. And let's roll through it. So we didn't know any specs rolling in this time last year, and I did a video in regards to this Trump phone. I'm not considering getting it, but I covered it because it, it's entering the phone space, right? What the hell's going on here? Why are there so... Oh, you got to be kidding me. Yo, it popped up on my phone without this stupid subscription thing. Gotta be kidding me. Hang on one second. I'm not paying for that subscription. I was just reading the article earlier, and that did not pop up on my screen. All right, so I'm going to pull it up on my phone since they're not going to let me. Okay, so check this out. See, it pulls up on my phone without the subscription thing. All right, so check this out. We'll run through this, but so now we know the Trump phone, they don't have a final price for potential buyers, but they said it's going to be in the they said it's going to be priced right alongside the typical flagships in this article, like Samsung and like Apple. Okay, so $1,200. Now, they're going to rip you off on this phone, right? Because it has mid-range specs, and they're going to ask $1,000 to $1,200 for this thing, right? So let me get down to the specs. So we now know that it is going to have a Snapdragon 7 series CPU. So The Verge interviewed the CEO of Trump Mobile, and they lightly discussed the specs of this new phone that they're going to put out. And it appears that it's going to have a 6.78 inch OLED display. Not bad. A Snapdragon 7 series chipset, right? So it's going to be like a 7S, I don't know, Gen 4, something like that. Definitely not a flagship CPU, right? It's going to have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. It's going to have 512 gigs of storage. And it's going to support an SD card. So it has that going for it, up to 1 terabyte. Now, it's going to have a selfie camera, 50 megapixel selfie camera, a 50 megapixel main shooter on the back, and it will have an ultra wide and a telephoto, but we don't know the megapixels of that. And we all know megapixels don't tell you everything in regards to the sensor. But it will be priced north of $1,000. Let's see. Is that all? I think that's all the specs that the CEO released in this article. Let's see. Damn, I can't believe they're making you pay for it on the website. Anyways, I just thought that was interesting that, and in this article they asked him, The Verge asked him, the CEO, so what happened to that $100 reservation for your T1 Trump phone at the this time last year? And they didn't really get a clear answer. So I don't know what the hell's going on over there, Trump Mobile. Sounds like the CEO really doesn't know either. Now, one other piece of information, it's not going to be made in the USA. You remember when it was first released? Oh, it's first phone completely made in the USA. No, it's not going to be made in the USA. They confirmed that yesterday when this article was released. Now, it's not listed here on their website. What's interesting is if you go to their phones, what the hell? Why does everything look different now on my computer? All right, let's go to the bottom. I think there's a phone section. Check this out. So they still have this on their website. Like, what the hell? And they're selling refurbished S24, a refurbished S23, iPhone 15 refurbished, iPhone 14 refurbished. But their classic Trump T1 cell phone is still up there, and they're not going to sell it. It's going to be a newer, more expensive version. So I don't know what's going on over there, and quite honestly, I don't think he does either, because they need to update their website. Anyways, I thought it would maybe just for shits and giggles fun to order one and test the service out. I'm not touching this thing with a 10-foot pole. Like, sorry, I'm just not gonna do it. Especially, when it first came out, I think it was $4.99. I was like, I might do it just to kind of make a mockery of it. But I'm certainly not doing it now. Anyways, but hey, they do sell some refurbished phones here. You know, mid-range prices, lower mid-range prices right here, past flagships, and that'll roll us into some other phones. So what are your options, right? Let's go to GizTop. Has anybody ordered anything from GizTop? Because they actually have some decent prices. They don't have the Motorola signature on here. They do have the Moto X70 Air. That's a decent phone. Wait, what is this X70 Air Pro? Is that the signature with a different name on it? It looks like my phone. Huh. Let's see if it has the same specs. Let's see here. So yeah, it has the looks like it's the same phone. Oh, interesting. So they are selling it for $799 here. How much storage does it have? Let's see. Let's go with black. Let's do 12,256, $799. So you can get one on eBay cheaper. And I don't know what version this is. Is this version 1 or version 2? Oh, this is the Chinese edition. And as you can tell, it doesn't have as many bands as the Indian version. So I wouldn't know, if you're interested, I wouldn't order it on here. Get it off of eBay. As you can see, it wouldn't get much good cell service if you're here in the United States. But let's go back, because let's see, are all these Chinese versions? Yeah, so actually GizTop's probably not the best option to order a phone from, unless there's something on here you really want, because it looks like the bands in these phones, you're going to be pretty limited, right, on what you get. But what's the first thing you think of when you think of a budget phone? Because what's the most important thing to y'all when it comes to a, if you're not going to spend $1,000 on a flagship phone? Because what do flagship phones have nowadays? It's all pretty fairly similar, right? It's going to be nice and fast, usually going to have at least 12 gigs of RAM, typically 16 now. You're going to have a nice smooth experience, hopefully good battery life. What's most important to you? Because once you go down in price, stuff's going to start to fall off, right? Either storage, smoothness of the operating system, the battery technology, how long the battery lasts, cameras quality starts falling off. You know what I'm saying? Once you start dipping down below the flagship segment, typically it's camera quality, quite honestly. Yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention, the headphone jack. And it does have an SD card slot. Now, I don't know who manufactures this Trump phone. Damn it, why won't it let me pull up the article? It looked like somebody's manufacturing it, right? Trump is not manufacturing a phone. He's having somebody manufacture it. It's just going to be a rebranded A56 or rebranded. That back of that phone looked familiar. I just can't think of what phone that was. So battery and smoothness of the operating system, simple. Just need a clean UI with decent cameras. Yeah, I think those three things: the battery, the smoothness of the operating system, and or a simple operating system with decent cameras. Right now, depending on if you game on your phone, if you edit videos, if you don't do any of those, I edit videos on mine. I don't game, so I do need a decent powerful CPU, right? But I don't need, after using this Motorola Signature, and I've had a perfect example, the Nothing Phone 3A. It's a nice, snappy operating system, and it doesn't have the best CPU, right? So you don't necessarily need the latest and greatest Snapdragon CPU nowadays. Maybe 5 years ago that was a must, right? But nowadays, just the regular Snapdragon 8 Gen 5, it's perfect for 99% of people, right? Even the 7S. What phone did I use with the 7S Gen 4? It was about a year ago. Was it a Nothing phone? But I remember thinking, damn, this is actually really smooth, really snappy, doesn't stutter. Even with video editing was fine. I was like, holy crap. Yeah, the Nord 2. Yeah, it does look like the Nord, doesn't it? With that camera island back there. These assholes won't let me pull up the let me see if I can refresh it real quick. Right there. Sort of does. Now, yeah, did the phone 3A have a MediaTek 74? Damn it. So I was going to go down. So let's cross out GizTop, because I think let's look at the OnePlus phones on here real quick. Now, a lot of the OnePlus phones are going to have the Chinese operating system. You can get them pretty cheap. Like, you can get that new OnePlus Turbo 6 for $399. Turbo 6V, those have huge batteries in them for a decent price. One thing I worry about is the cell reception, is the network here in the United States. I think one or two of those 5G bands would work, but you're just going to limit yourself. And if you live outside of the city, maybe you live in the suburbs outside of a major city, that's when it may start to peek its head as far as you having some network issues. If you live inside city limits, I do, but I'm just in a dead spot, honestly. But this last year, Qualcomm's modems have eliminated the dead spot for me, thank God. But that's what you're going to start having to worry about with some of these phones, is not from the US, but I'm talking about if you get them in from like GizTop, you're going to have to start worrying about that. They have some really, really good prices here. But again, just be mindful of what you're buying. But let's jump into the upper tier mid-range, and this is right on the border. The OnePlus 15R, right on the border in between mid-range and flagship. Now I want to get my hands on one of these, quite honestly, and I think starting next month I'm going to look for deals, because it's been out for what, a couple months now, right? And I think you could be able to find, like at Best Buy or on Facebook Marketplace or Mercari, you should be able to find a used one, because I'm not going to pay $700 for that. You can get a 1-year-old flagship, and that's something we'll discuss towards the end. Would you rather buy a brand new mid-range or a 1-year-old flagship? That's a big decision you're going to have to make whenever it comes to purchasing a phone for you, maybe a second phone, maybe a phone for your kid. Should you get a brand new mid-range or a year-old flagship? So you should be able to find this at a decent price here. That's for $799 for $800. That's too expensive. Might as well just get the OnePlus 15, right? Like, but at $699, it's still pushing it. I think you could find a good one for maybe $575, something like that. I think that's the sweet spot for this OnePlus 15R. Something under $600, I think, would be a good buy. All right. So that's an option. Now, here's an option, a Motorola option, but you want to be mindful. So the Moto Edge 60 Pro, you can get this on Amazon for $499, so essentially $500. They have one in a really, really nice blue color. But here's the problem with this Edge 60 Pro. They do bi-monthly updates. Now, Motorola's come out and said they're doing monthly updates for this signature, for their flagship. It looks like they're doing bi-monthly for their mid-range phones, because I watched a couple of videos on this phone last night and this morning, and a couple of them mentioned every 2 months they've gotten an update. Now, I'm sure you might have, or you might not have seen that report, that there is a bottom of the barrel Motorola phone, I can't remember the name of it, that they're just not updating at all. Now, that's Motorola, right? I wish they would just send updates out every month. Hopefully with this, they see the fanfare, they see the warm reception that people like myself are starting to jump into this phone for just 4 monthly updates. So I'm hoping they start to update their phones every month, but hopefully slowly they'll move into that. But they are updating this every other month, so that's a decent option. It has a MediaTek Dimensity 8350 chip, very capable. It's actually got a lot of nice specs: 6.7-inch curved P OLED display, 6,000 milliampere hour battery, 90 watt charging, IP69, all for about $600. But like I mentioned, on Amazon, they're $499. So the Moto Edge 60 Pro, I think, is a decent option, right? Now, what about this Red Magic A11 Air that Flossie Carter reviewed just the other day? This thing looks pretty cool, minus cameras. If you're not a big camera person, then so be it. It all depends on what you use your phone for, right? So these start at $499, and it basically has all the good specs. It has the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset, not the Gen 5, but the Elite. They do, remember, they're only selling this for $499, so they got to cut costs somewhere. But it's going to have a lot of RAM. It has very fast UFS storage. It has liquid cooling. It has those special triggers on the corners. It's got an all flat back so the camera humps don't stick out, and it has a in-display front-facing selfie camera. Now it looks like you can get the 12256 for $529, and I think if you sign up early, you get it for $499, or you can go with the 16 gig for 512 gigs of storage for $629. Right? I've always wanted a Red Magic phone. Never had a Red Magic phone. Always wanted one. Never got one. Let's see. I'm one of your regular subscribers watching from outside the US. I'd love to see you explore Huawei smartphones in your content. Despite the restrictions, it pushed some serious innovations. Yeah, I used to have I used to have a lot of Huawei phones. I appreciate you checking out the channel. Thank you for reviewing. I've had a lot of Huawei phones before Trump banned them in his first term. Get this, my very first Android phone was a Huawei phone back in 2010. I remember my my wife being pregnant with our daughter. That's when I got my very first Android phone, and it was a Huawei phone. And then I went to the G1 Pixel, or Google's very first phone. And then I had a couple of Huawei phones back in 2014. I enjoyed them. If I can get my hands on one, and maybe you can help me. Huawei gets zero coverage here in the US. You can imagine why. I don't know what their flagship phone is. Are they using MediaTek CPUs? Because I think they're barred from using Qualcomm chipsets because it's US based, right? They got to be using. No, I think Huawei don't they make their own chip now? Maybe you can help me. What's their? Or I guess I could look it up here. I might look into that. I'm sure I could buy a phone or two off of eBay, right? Because you can't buy them directly from Huawei and have it shipped to US, but you can buy it on eBay, right? And have it shipped. I might look into that because I've heard their operating system, and you can even install an APK, right? I know they have their own app store. I know they have their own operating system. It doesn't have Google services on them anymore. But I might look into that. Band 71 on 5G. Yes, you talking about the Motorola phones that we were looking at earlier. I think all these have band 71. I think that's one band that they all share with us. Let's see, 5G. No, 77. Huh. Let's see here. I saw Phone Arena's review overheats in gaming. Oh, no kidding. See, I watched Flauncey Carter. I watched his, but I didn't watch the part. I just watched probably the first half before he got into some gaming and some camera stuff. Wow, so it overheats even with the liquid cooling. Did you see what I was going to talk about this, but maybe I can do it now, and we'll get back to the other options when it comes to the mid-range phones. Did you see what Qualcomm is doing with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 6 CPU? So to combat overheating, and I don't know if it's a confirmed done deal, meaning everything's signed and ready to manufacture, but Qualcomm, because remember when the OnePlus 15 first came out, there's a bunch of people saying they had overheating issues, and then those were the review units. And then when they started shipping the OnePlus 15, there was day one update that kind of throttled the CPU. Well, Qualcomm with this new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 6, they're going to use Samsung's new GAA packing process for their chipset. Now, what's the difference between the Samsung GAA packing process and TSMC's packing process? Well, typically the DRAM is mounted and or stacked right underneath the mobile chipset, right? With Samsung's new GAA packing process, which they are releasing for the very first time in the new S26 series that have the Samsung Exynos 2600 CPU, it's going to be on this new GAA packing process. The GAA packing process actually right underneath the chip, instead of putting the DRAM, they put some new cooling innovative technology. Before I misspeak, let me pull it up. It's there's a really good article on WWF Tech GAA 8. So check this out. Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 6 Pro. High price isn't nope, that's not it. And this is why they're hitting peak clock speeds of 5 gigs, is because they're using Samsung's new there was an article that was out this week. This one was from about a month ago. Let's see. Yeah, the use of Samsung's heat pass block, which is employed on the Exynos 2600, is expected to be applied to the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 6 Pro to reach that 5 gig threshold. So they ramp it up so high, it generates so much heat. Samsung, that's why I'm really interested in trying an S26 that has the Samsung Exynos 2600. The CPU looks badass. Now, I'm gonna hold got some reservations. I think all of us have had a bad experience with an Exynos CPU throughout the years, right? I've had a couple good ones. I've had a couple really bad ones, but I think they have something going on with this new packing process. Have you seen the benchmark results from this Exynos 2600? Whoa, it's incredible. So I'm actually looking to get we'll have to see when they come out. I don't know. Obviously, the Ultras are all getting the Snapdragon variants, and then the base model, the Plus model, are getting the 2600, but we don't know in what regions. After they get released, maybe about a month or two, maybe 3 months, maybe some right around the middle of the year, I might try and get, if they don't sell them in the US with the 2600, I might try and jump on eBay and see if I can find one. I really want to test that out. Let's see here. Oh, no band 71. Got you. That would make sense. HBM, yes. Yeah, it's really cool. I think Samsung hopefully has turned the tide. Same thing with Intel. Intel's doing great. Their new Panther Lake CPU looks badass. I can't wait to get my hands on one of the. Actually, I'm thinking about getting rid of my HP here. I have the 2nd gen Core 7. Looking to get rid of that to get this 3rd gen CPU, the Panther Lake. Cannot wait to get my hands on one of those. I'm a big fan of MediaTek processors rather than Snapdragon. Not many phone brands are adapting them in the US. I know. Last 2 years, MediaTek has dominated. Yes, they have. I want to get my hands on one bad as well. Probably the all the MediaTek chipsets I've used, I've enjoyed. Right? I think the last one was last 2 I've used were on Nothing phones. They were great. I think I mentioned that about a few minutes ago. I want to the X Fine Pro Oppo phones. If I can find a good price on one of those, I definitely want to get it so I can try that. From a real world usage perspective, do smartphones genuinely need increasingly powerful, often aggressively clocked flagship chipsets each year, in your opinion? No, they don't. And I think it was Roy Sanchez here that said why. Because they overheat. Like, everybody uses their phone differently, right? Your usage probably way different from mine. If you play games on your phone, I don't. I edit videos on my phone. You probably don't. You might, but I don't need a super aggressive. Cool. I mean, sure, it's fun to have. It's fun to test out. Oh, yeah, I have the latest and greatest, very best, highest performing CPU in my hands right now. Let's see what this is all about. But then I go use a phone, a year-old phone, that's just flies through the operating system. So like, it's not a necessity. Now it depends, right? If you play a ton of games, you might want to go for the very best. If you edit videos like myself, I want something that's smooth, right? I don't need the most powerful. I just need something smooth, something very well optimized, a good optimized operating system. I just like fluidity. So no, you don't have to have the latest and greatest. Now, there's some other factors that go into that, like your UFS storage. Do you have the 4.1, 4.0, anything 3 in the 3 series, the 3rd generation? It's too old nowadays, at least for me it is, to use. I can tell the difference when using UFS storage 3 versus 4, and just how well the operating system is, right? So no, I don't need the latest and greatest. Yeah, me too. Dimensity chipsets are great, and I don't talk a lot of politics here on this channel for a reason, and I think that's why you don't see MediaTek presence in the United States. If you catch my drift, like, They're not here for a reason. So I wish it would change. I wish it was just open market, free game. I wish we here in the United States, we're really pinched when it comes to the different options we have as far as not just phones, but technology, period. We're really pinched. Like, that's why I'm so excited about Motorola coming back. Now, I know they're not based in the United. Well, I guess they're based in Chicago, but for our market, there's just not that many options, right? And especially if OnePlus slowly fades away, we just don't have that many options. I wish we had MediaTek. I wish we had more MediaTek. I wish we had Huawei available. There's a lot of things I wish that we could have here that we just don't. Right? You want an Oppo phone, you got to go buy it off eBay. You can't buy it directly from Oppo. It's frustrating. It's really, really, really frustrating. I want fast and sturdy with no throttling. Fast and sturdy. Yeah, that's. I got to have a lot of RAM too, right? Let's see here. So we went through. We talked about the Trump phone. We talked about the Giztop phones. OnePlus 15R, the Red Magic 11 Air, right? Mid-range. What else we got? iPhone 17e. If you're an iPhone user, this is coming out apparently pretty soon. According to the latest information, gonna release with a $599 price tag. I think the main upgrades with this one is they're gonna have a dynamic island now instead of the what do they call that? Teardrop. Well, it's not really teardrop, but they're gonna have a independent dynamic island now on the 17e. How could I forget Pixel? Now, I have a love-hate relationship with Pixel because the new Pixel 10a is coming out. That's a classic mid-range phone, but I think I'm going to have to wait and see. This is a fantastic version, and don't think I'm just shitting on Google because my whole family has Google. When my dad needed a new phone, I just, here, get a Pixel. When my mom needed a new phone when she was alive, I say, here, go get this Pixel. My grandparents, Pixel. They're the easiest, most secure, simplest Android phone you can use, right? And the A series is good because it's not cost you an arm and a leg, right? Now I worry that they're going to implement this 200 charging cycle thing in all devices moving forward. I don't know. I've tried to get confirmation to see if the 10A is going to have the 200 charging cycle limit, where it'll cut your charging in half. It'll cap your battery capacity at 80%, right? For people like you and I'm not going to recommend Pixel if they continue doing this. But for somebody like my parents, a grandparent, they don't care if their phone takes 2 hours to charge, right? I do. So for them, people that are not really into all that, that's fine. But I'm going to have a hard time recommending Pixel if they continue this 200 charging cycle thing. Because remember, it's only about 6 months of usage, and it just goes in the shitter, the charging, in your battery capacity. So I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to try to get some clarity on this Pixel 10a. As you can see, it's already listed on the Google store. You can sign up. Now, what Google's doing typically every year, you know how the A series, they'll put their flagship CPU that's in the whatever their sister series is. So for like the 9, they would put the Tensor G4 in the Pixel 9 series, and they would also put it in the Pixel 9a series. They were doing that every year until this year. So we found out the Pixel 10a is not going to have the Tensor G5 chip in it that the Pixel 10s have. They're going to put last year's G4 Tensor chip in it. Now, before we all laugh and say, what are they doing? Not a bad idea. Now, if this was any other phone company, I would kind of give them crap about it, right? Because it's a complete refresh. Like, I'm sure there's maybe have newer UFS storage or, maybe newer speaker components in there. So it would have some newer parts, but it's essentially a refresh from the 9A. However, the Pixel 9 series still outperforms the new Pixel 10 series. So this is actually probably a good thing that this 10A will have the Tensor G4 in it. I was going back and looking at some of my reviews the other day. The Pixel 9 outperforms the 10, so this should be a decent performer. But I don't know when this is going to release, and I want to see if it has a 200 charging cycle limit on it before I personally recommend it. Again, if it's for a kid, if it's a second phone, right, whatever. But for your primary phone, I'm going to reserve judgment until I know a little bit more. But that's always an option, the A series, right? And then the S25 FE. I stopped using FEs a couple years ago when they only had 8 gigs of RAM. Now I believe they do have 12 gigs of RAM. I believe that's for the AI that's in there. I think. No, you know what? I think they still have 8 gigs of RAM. Yeah, yikes. Yeah, I'm not, there's no way I could use an FE. The least I can do is 12, but 8, yeah, that's too little. But it's always an option, right? Now, before we get out of here, let's get back to the other decision to make. If you're thinking about upgrading and you don't want to spend an arm and a leg, is it worth getting a brand new mid-range phone for, you know, $400, $500, $600, or should you get a year-old flagship phone? That's the question. Now, everybody's different. I think I would go with a year-old flagship phone. Perfect example. Well, I guess because I was thinking, so should you spend $600? Because what can you get for $600? A year-old flagship. You can get, well, shoot, check this out. For the Motorola Signature, you can get the 12 gig 256 for $679 on eBay. In fact, when you favorite one of these on eBay, a lot of times the seller will send you a offer, and I think there was an offer for $649. So this is always an option, right? But I think I would rather go with a year-old flagship, like getting an S24 Plus for $400 than getting an S25 FE, right? You have flagship CPU, everything in it is top notch, right? Display, speakers, well, not necessarily cameras, but you get the point, right? I think that's the best way to go. Now, when purchasing a used phone, make sure you always make sure there is a return window where you can return it, because every now and then you get a phone in and there's a little scratch on the screen when that wasn't in the description, or whatever, it won't power on in the mornings when it's cold, right, or something like that. So just make sure there is a return window. But yeah, I think a year-old flagship makes more sense than a brand new mid-range. I offered a seller $640 for the 16512 Olive Moto Signature. I haven't heard back from them yet. Well, hopefully you hear something soon. That would be a fantastic deal right there. A fantastic deal. Yeah, you would rather go with a year-old flagship? Yeah, I think I would too. Everything in there is top-notch, and they typically get the longest update cycle, right? With some of these mid-range phones, they are really good performers, but that's something you might have to worry about, right? And you might not hold on to it for, I don't know, 5 more years, right? But you may pass it on, may give it to your cousin, your daughter, somebody, right? So the updates is, as long as I get monthly updates, that's all I'm worried about. I never hang on to a phone more than 1 year, but as long as I get monthly updates, I'm good, right? Let's see here. Is there anything else? Let's see. Looking at the news here, I think that's about it. All right. Well, is there any phone that I'm missing that you can think of? Good mid-range phones. We went to Motorola, OnePlus, Red Magic, Pixel 9a, Samsung FE. I know I'm missing something, but I'm sure there's an Oppo phone or something else out there. I'm trying to think. Oh, does it? Nothing. Hello. Thank you. The A series. Thank you. I knew I was missing one of them. The Nothing A series. Now, I hope they release those out of the beta program for US buyers. They should. If they're not going to release a flagship phone this year, at least take it out of the beta program so we know it'll officially work here in the US, right? There's been a lot of users recently that have the 3A that have commented on my video with the 3A where it has issues working with AT&T, right? There's an issue with the AT&T not recognizing the phone. So I think they need to do more there, right? And supporting users here in the United States, right? They sure do. Yeah, that was a really, really, really good deal you got. Does anybody have a OnePlus 15? I found this in my drawer, and if one of y'all need it and or want it, I can send it to you. Just let me know. I think it's Rinky. And if you want that, email me, eSIMstudios@gmail.com. Other than that, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to do a camera app walkthrough on the Signature. I compiled some more pictures and videos last night. I have day shots and night shots that I'm going to put out. And I'm going to do a case review on this. Although it's not much of a case. It's paper thin, and I may just do a short, right? I don't think it dedicates a whole video to this. But not much of a choice on Amazon. But I'm going to move my sim into the Signature and get that rolling. Does it have RAW? I don't know. Let me see. I never use RAW. You know, I saw a video and I could have sworn it has it on here, but I don't see it. Now, they might have changed it because I remember watching a video on the Signature a couple weeks ago, and the person was upset because it doesn't have a pro mode in the camera settings. And I'm looking down here and there's a pro mode in the camera settings. It might be in these settings. I don't see it. Yeah, it's got RAW. It has it. I was just looking in the wrong place. It does have RAW photography. See if you can see it. Right. Can y'all see that? Oh, shit. Oh, here we go. Right there in the middle. Try to focus. It says RAW. I'm going to do a walkthrough of the camera application, a dedicated video, so you can see all of the options. So yes, it does have RAW mode. But let me get out of here. I do appreciate the time. Thank you for stopping by. I'm going to shoot that video here this afternoon. I'm going to compile the video, pictures, night shots. And then if you need a OnePlus 15 case, just email me and I'll send it. Whoever wants it or needs it. Other than that, appreciate the time. I'm going to get out of here. Got some chores to do, trying to sell a car too, so I got that to do. But appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend, and I'll check you out tomorrow. We'll do a giveaway. Probably tomorrow. Do you give away tomorrow? I don't have any time. I'm supposed to be out here at 3. I'm running behind. We'll do giveaway tomorrow. Interesting. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. You too. Hey, bro, what's going on? Thank you for stopping by. Make sure you hit the replay. We're about to get up on out of here. Appreciate it. I got to run. Peace.